Back to Mali, ECOWAS heads of states will hold another extraordinary summit on the political situation in Niger Republic, actually, on Thursday after the junta ignored the August 6th deadline to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Meanwhile, a U.S. envoy held meetings with the junta officials on Monday. Kabir Adamu, Managing Director at Beacon Consulting, joins me now to discuss these developments. Thank you so much, Kabir, for your time. So clearly, the coup leaders are resolute in their position, and this seems to be evolving very quickly into possibly the most significant political crisis in the sub-region in decades. What do you make of how things are evolving right now?
Thank you. So there are so many moving parts to what ordinarily would have been an internal issue that is relevant to Nigerians. But because of so many moving parts and perhaps the strategic position of Niger, this has become an international issue, and I'll try in the short time that we have to talk about these moving parts. One of them is the international norm on democracy. Democracy has become more or less the acceptable international norm. So the world is almost united on the fact that the only way you can assume power is through democratic means. And any time there is an attempt to truncate that, the world responds. And in this instance, the world has put that burden on ECOWAS. So ECOWAS, in essence, is trying to project the world's position on democracy. Now, having said that, all the member states of ECOWAS have signed instruments, protocols, policies that agrees to democratic transition of governance. In other words, anytime there is a variance to this democratic transition of governance, ECOWAS as a body can interfere with the internal matters of that particular member. Incidentally, in Niger, which is a member of ECOWAS, its then president, that's Mohamed Yusuf, was the chairman of ECOWAS when that particular protocol was amended. And so it's imperative that the position, as it were, of Niger vis-a-vis its membership of ECOWAS is seen from that angle. This third point I would like to mention is the constitution of Niger itself, which also recognizes democratic transition to governance. Now, these last 2 points clearly are against the coup that occurred in that country on the 26th of July 2023. And so that brings to fore this international dimension. The fourth point I would like to mention is the strategic importance of Niger. Let me start with the economic relevance, as it were. Niger produces uranium, it produces gold, it produces petroleum. All of these are relevant to the international community, as it were. It's also a member of the international community of nations. And so anything that happens there would be of importance. And then the last point is the security relevance in terms of the strategic position of Niger. Niger is a member of both the G5 initiative, which was headquartered in Mali, and then after the coup in Mali, the last or current conversation is to move that headquarters to Niger. But if this coup is allowed to sustain, I do not see that movement happening. Of course, it's also a member of the multinational joint task force, which is headquartered in Chad. And so the possibility of Niger coming out of these two regional initiatives means that the global hotspot of terrorism is likely to be the Sahel region.
Very interesting analysis and summary there. And you've clearly hit on all the big points. And the big question is what happens next? Because now we've seen them defy one deadline. On Thursday, we'll see how resolute ECOWAS is in terms of taking action from here. But many of us also pointed out to how delicate the situation is. And certainly from the various countries that have a huge skin in the game here, Nigeria, of course, being one. Even the legislature are somewhat reserved about taking military action as a way to address this. So, given the complexity of the situation, and many will argue that even the strength that the Nigerian government right now is getting from the solidarity from other countries nearby, it seems like it could be a long drawn-out issue here?
And this is simply a function of the failure of both Nigeria's and then ECOWAS's mobilization of its foreign service potentials. And I say this with all sense of responsibility. The narrative at the moment is being driven by the pushists in Niger. They've been able to take over the media space. They've been able to galvanize their narrative, and they are using that to garner support of the Nigerian people. Now, sadly, on the part of Nigeria and ECOWAS, we haven't seen enough strategic communication to advance the Nigerian as well as the ECOWAS narrative in such a way that both Nigerians and then the generality of ECOWAS citizens will support the ECOWAS position. So I think the answer, hoping that by tomorrow, when they discuss, they'll understand the relevance of strategic communication. In today's world, you cannot underestimate the social media space. You can't underestimate the conventional media space, and I'm not seeing enough of the use of that. But quite to say that there is a general consensus that the coup should be condemned. What is generating the controversy is this so-called military intervention.
Well, in terms of the levers that ECOWAS can pull at this point, so clearly everyone is waiting with bated breath to see what happens after Thursday. But in your view, given what seems to be relative strength, especially because of the solidarity from other nations that the Niger government appear to have right now, what do you think can be effective? Because we've already seen quite a few sanctions rolled out, and clearly they are not deterred.
So we need to interrogate that very well. That is what they are portraying. But are they feeling the effect of the sanctions? Yes. Niger is almost 40% dependent on foreign aid to govern, not just to even meet the developmental aspirations of people. Just to govern, it needs about 40%.
So sorry to jump in there. Given the point you've just made, then don't you think we can continue to go by way of sanction? Or do you think they have external help that could reinforce their strength in the medium term?
So that's the point I was making earlier on around strategic communication, as well as the use of our foreign service. I clearly used the word foreign service. I did not use the word foreign ministry. The foreign service includes other components outside of the foreign ministry. We need to make sure that other multilateral and bilateral partners support the ECOWAS initiative. At the moment, Chad is sitting on the fence. Algeria appears to be sitting on the fence. Of course, the other military-run West African countries, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali, have clearly stated their position. So we need to make sure the ECOWAS position is supported by all of these countries that I've mentioned, as well as the international partners, US, the EU, and several others, so that the effect of the economic sanctions is felt. And in doing that, we must also provide an avenue for discussion. It's only through a conversation, a discussion, that we can get out of this.
No doubt. Thank you so much for that comprehensive review of the situation. I've been speaking to Kabir Adamu, the Managing Director at Become Consulting, about the unfolding developments in Niger.